All right, so I'm Jean Lieverman. I don't know if I know some of you. Recognize some of you. I work with Bill Bird and sort of in TPP, but getting Project Online implemented. Been working with Christopher and Isaac to get projects up for design. Are people familiar with what's been going on, or is this your first? Did you just come to a meeting because you were invited? No, seriously. Do you know about what?
A little bit of both.
So for a lot of you, this is brand new, and you don't quite know why you're here. I don't mean it like that.
No.
It's just brand new, and okay. So we've been working on preparing this for you guys, so we can better manage projects for design and for all of the department. We've been working division by division. So 2 weeks ago, I came and worked with the project managers. Were any of you here for that? Okay, I just want to make sure who's in the room, so to speak. And we worked with them in terms of there are lots of projects out there that you all work on, and Christopher and Isaac have been working on getting those prepped for you guys. So the project managers got training on how to manage those projects and how to assign you to tasks, and they've started that process, I believe. And so now it's the thing we're going to do today is, what do you do? How do you help out in the process? How do you learn what's going on and be a part of not just the tool, but the whole process? Does that make sense? Particularly for those of you that have no idea why you're here or whatever.
So this here, for those of you that remember, this is going to replace Primavera as the department's scheduling software. We're going to be using this. What we're looking for out of all of you, our project engineers, are really the periodic updates on your activities. What we get out of that as design division is we get to also, what Primavera couldn't do, is we get to check your resource loading, and we get to tie it into PIW, which then ties it into ECAPS, and we get live expenditure reports, so you never have to run an RMV report again.
Nice.
That's what we get out of it. And so we can easily show if you've got, say, a first submittal, second submittal, and 2 concept reports due within 5 days of each other. Well, that's probably not too sustainable, so something's got to give. We either got to get these things reassigned, or we need more staff here. So that's what we get out of it. So, but what we have to input things to get things out of it, though. So that's where you all come in. You are going to be doing the bulk of the inputs, and we haven't figured out how frequent it would be. I would think it'd be on a weekly or a bi-weekly basis. So I don't think you need to be in here, every 15 minutes saying, "Oh, I'm 5% done with this activity, and now I'm 7.5% done." I'm not asking for things like that, but maybe once a week, once every other week. So we'll get that worked out. So this is still a learning process for all of us, and this is probably the biggest group of updaters that we're going to have for some time, right? Mm-hmm. So this is, unfortunately, we're going to be the guinea pigs, but I think this has got a lot of potential, and it's going to work if we put the effort into it.
And you said these are the star people of the department, right?
That's right. This is the A-team right here.
Okay.
Can I add a little more?
Yes, please.
Okay, so this is really important, not just for us, actually for the whole department, for all the construction projects. They're all going to be managed through here. Well, this is important to me, and you said it's resource allocation. We have no way to determine who's doing what level, where are they, and sometimes, well, who can do this job, who can't, who's got this, who's got that. This will allow us to better allocate resources to projects or projects to resources. It's a very powerful tool. It'll give us dashboards. You can look, as a division, we're doing like this. You can drill down by section, this is how we're doing, and then you can continue to drill down. And that's really important for myself and Rami and Andrew to get that understanding of what's going on in that division. So this is not a voluntary thing. We really need everybody to really learn this and use it, or else forget about it. It's not going to work. And so it's going to be a very, very important tool for all of us. It's going to take, like you said, a little bit of effort, a little bit of time. You got to put data in there, but it'll help us tremendously when we're busy now. We're going to get so busy in the very near future when Mesh W kicks in. So we've got to know how to really manage our resources, and this would be a great tool to do that.
I just want to add, it should be a very good tool for you all, that you can see what tasks you're assigned to, what's going to be expected of you in the next couple of weeks, in the next few months, in the next year, so that it gives you time ahead of time to go, I can't do that. Sort of your example of you're supposed to deliver 5 things in the same week. It's just not possible. Now you have a way to communicate that to upper management and back to the teams. So hopefully you'll view this as an easier way to help manage your work and know what's expected, and then focus more on your work than all the management stuff of it. So what I thought I'd do is, by the way, I had a few of these sheets that have links for where there's documentation, and after we do this, I may develop a little more documentation for this process, so it doesn't have to be just a recording, but a link for where to go to get to into Project Online. That's what Microsoft Project Online is what it's called. But I'm going to take you through some and just show you a little bit. And I have my little schedule here as my cheat sheet of what we're going to do today. So if I go here, and what's the home page? Intranets?
Yeah, intranet.
So from the home page, and you all, everybody that was invited to this meeting, I put into the system. So you should be able to leave this and do what I'm doing here and go in. So you want to get to Office 365 Online. At the home page, there's a link. And it didn't ask me to log in. Well, actually, I'm logged in as Christopher, and I don't want to do that.
No.
I'm feeling weird already, just. So let's see. So I'm going to sign in a different account. You'll be asked to log in. And you put in your full email address. And now, this is the one thing, no, I still want to be, let me try one more time.
While she's doing that, have you guys, anybody's tried Microsoft Teams?
Yes.
You have?
Yes.
Okay.
I tried to log in, but it didn't let me. Something's wrong with the installation.
Oh, really? Just have IT call them up. So if you haven't tried it out, I want to get feedback, see how it works. You can do it as a project team, you can do it as a unit, you can do a section, there's different ways to create those teams. But try it out, I want to see how it works. I want to hear back from you.
We've been using it.
You've been using it? How's it?
It's basically just like Skype, except you can add stuff to it. One thing I wasn't sure of is like, for like emails, you can kind of like search certain things you're looking for like in the
Yeah.
past. Can you do that because they're kind of like chats?
Yeah, you can do that. You can,
Am I me?
everything's
Oh,
searchable.
good.
Yeah. And it's live, it's kind of, so you can actually have a meeting right there with your team instead of physical.
So I was just thinking like maybe if you wanted to look for something specific, like or you have some specific information to share, like if they have an email instead, but if it's searchable, then.
There's another app called Dell, and it gives you kind of like a dashboard of like your team's activity, like whatever email they send, if you're included on, it'll show up attaching it on there.
What's that? What's the app?
Dell?
It's part of the
That's-
office.
Yeah.
I think that's more around the contact, sort of. I'm not sure. It's been a while.
Kind of like a-
But Teams is where they're going, so.
Yeah, Teams is where Microsoft's going.
And it has a lot of capabilities, but then you have all these different things, so you have to sort of settle in on sort of one, and this is the one people are settling in on. All right, so I've signed in as me, it took me a while. And when I do that, these are all the apps that I have available to me in Office 365. And if I don't see the one I want, which is Project, I go to All, and now I come to Project. So I click on that, and when you do that, there are multiple ways to do things. I always save a link, so I don't have to go through this every time. But it will bring me possibly and bring you to this homepage with these 4 different implementations of Project Online. We want the one that's Public Works.
Is there a desktop version, or is there only the one on the?
So Project Online is a big enterprise tool. It consists of several parts. One is the browser part, and that's what we're looking at. And it's called Project Web App, or PWA. It gets referred to, that's what you're going to hear me talk about. This is where you guys are going to exist in. Another part is the Microsoft Project Desktop tool, Office 365. Has anybody ever used that for doing scheduling? So you're not going to miss it because nobody's used it.
Microsoft Project?
Microsoft Project.
I've used that.
Okay, so that's a piece of this. But for your use, you probably are not going to be using that. But the project managers, whether they use that or not, they're using the guts of scheduling that Microsoft provides. And they're going to be doing, and I'll take you through and show you a little bit. The third part are project sites, and I'm going to show you that, where if you know what SharePoint is, it's what this is all built on. It's a collaboration piece. It's like where Teams is now sort of coming in. So Teams is a place to collaborate. We have a site for each project where you can collaborate. I'm going to show you some of that. And then the last piece is the reporting piece, and that's Power BI. And we have reports developed, and hopefully we'll get to that. But did they get licenses?
No.
Never mind, we won't be going there right now. The one key thing in all of this is you have to do this implementation with crawl, walk, run. So we're still sort of crawling and walking. And once it gets going, then we go, oh, okay, now we want this. Now we want to let people do this, things like that. And that's what will happen. As we see how you all interact, then we'll say, oh, we should develop this. And that's just how it goes. All right, so I have a link here, and normally I would save it to my, to my favorite bar, so I can always go back and I don't have to go through that. This is the home page. What you'll see on the home page are announcements, and there are a ton of other announcements. If you're interested, you click on, and when you hover over something and you see the line, you know it's a URL, you can go to it. So we have a bunch of announcements. Some are key things of how to do things. Like when somebody asked me a question, and I would look up the information, I'd put it here, things like that, and others. So you can look at that. When I hover there, it's a line I can do on that. To go back to the home page, I hover over the PW, and when I look below, I see, yes, that's the home page. Or I set the link. So we have that as the first thing. And right now, Lisa has been putting information, we've been gearing our information for TPP because they were the first guinea pigs. But as you come in, I'm going to need to do things like, so you only see the announcements relevant to your division or to everybody, things like that. You don't need to see their stuff. There are little tiles here. I never use them, but they roughly do the same thing. So the key things that you all would be interested in is looking at the projects and looking at your tasks. I tend to use, and people tend to use, the navigation links over here to the left. There are just a few that are very key. So there are 2 or 3 key centers to go into. One is the project center. And when you do that, when you first come in, it looks something like this, which is 1 line per project with some information, very Excel-like. They talk about this as the first dashboard view of information. We'll go through this a little bit, but key thing is I can see some key information. One thing to know, to scroll to the right, you have to go down in order to scroll over, and then you can come back, things like that. It's a weird sort of little thing. So if I want to go back and look at here, the projects. So if I click on these things, it'll sort, it should sort. If not, so I can sort by that, I can sort here, whatever. You'll notice these project IDs are some that are key for you are things that are DES. So you'll see project IDs that are DES or DES dash. What that implies, so here, these DES dash FCC are projects where they are being, the project manager for the project is in a division other than design. For the most part, my understanding is you guys work on other divisions' projects, meaning they have projects doing a road construction and you have to do design plans. And I know I don't quite understand all the details, so if I say something wrong, correct me.
Question?
Yes.
So when you log on, you only see your projects?
Actually, everybody can see every project. So we've made this about transparency.
Right.
I'm going to show you a little bit of how to configure so you can cut it down to what you want to see.
Okay.
So, but as a first sort of
I'm
thing.
sorry, but then you can you edit all projects? If I want to edit, I can go in there and just create
So for
chaos?
folks today, no.
No, okay.
For folks today, you're not going to be editing projects. You're going to be updating tasks on projects. Tasks that you've been assigned to, you're going to be going in and editing. And this is part of that crawl, walk, run. So later on, we can have things where, hey, I think I need to do another task here. I want to do something new. We're not starting with that. We're just getting everybody in. So tasks that you've been assigned to, you go in and you update. So things that you see that are design dash blah, 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 or DES blah, 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 are projects that are owned by another division, and we've created a project here for just the design portion. And this is what Isaac and Christopher have been working on madly. So instead of reflecting a road construction project with all the surveys and the right-of-ways and it's just got a few tasks to represent your design work. And as more divisions come on board, so I don't know what FCC is, flood something. As they come on board and they are the project managers and they create projects that really surpass yours, yours will go away, and your work will be reflected in the total project. So these things that you see, design dash something or DES dash something, are other divisions projects that they're not in the system yet. However, TPP has about 50 projects that they manage, and all your work is in there. So they are not duplicated in these DES design projects. So we'll have a mixture of those. And then there are other projects that are just your design projects.
Right.
That aren't, something like this, Cloretto Pump Station. And I know that because it's just got a DES project ID and not a, that dash one.
So the gist of this is, if the owner, your project manager, creates a schedule in here with the correct project ID number, Isaac and I touch nothing, and you just get assigned to, either 60%, 90%, PS&E, all that sort of stuff. If the owner has created a project ID number but doesn't want to use the software, Isaac and I have created a DES-FCC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then if the owner doesn't want to create a project ID number at all, it's just DES 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's a long-winded way of making sure we get all of our stuff in here, so that way we can accurately show how busy we are.
And
Question, okay, so, big project management too. They're using this, but some of the projects are going to consultants instead of using design division. Well, do we see those?
so I think you're going down a place much more complicated.
Okay.
So, and I'm not sure I got the right examples, but stormwater quality.
Yeah.
So they have project plans in here. And after planning, PMD2 manages their project.
Yeah.
However, the commitment they have made is to keep a full plan in here with the key tasks, core milestone tasks, and that has meaning, I'll tell you in a second. So it's fully represented. And PMD2 is still keeping their Primavera plan or
right.
whatever. We can't see theirs.
Right.
Nothing has changed that way, but you do have all the information in the
Okay.
plan here.
Okay. That
Okay.
answers my question.
Okay.
What question is that?
Sorry. I guess it's kind of towards Chris too. I know we're creating the design numbers if our project managers don't create one, but are we expected to change it once they do create? Is there a way to do that? I have actually a project that...
We'll start breaching that when it starts becoming habitual. I don't know how we're going to approach
Because I
that.
have one right now where I just got the ID number today, and we were using the design number up until today for it.
It's easy enough to change. It's more about, I'm not quite understanding the question, so, and I don't need to right now. What you said is right. Those sort of things, will hit them one at a time.
Okay.
And that's that part of, oh, now I understand what you all do and how, and then we can come up with the rules and sort of stuff. All right, let me keep going, because hopefully we make it through. So we see, I'm going to come back to this, but I'm just right now going to pick one of your projects. So when I hover over the name, it's a live link, and now instead of looking at the portfolio, I'm looking at the specific project. And for your projects that are design, and not all the work that you do on projects will be design projects. They may be TPP, they may be stormwater quality. But for design projects, you'll see 3 different forms. And they're called PDPs, project detail pages. But to the left here, there are 3 different ways of presenting the data for the project. And what we're seeing here, project info, for the most part looks the same regardless of the project. So here's the project name, the project ID, what division owns the project, meaning this project in particular is a stormwater maintenance division project. They are the owners. They're the, I don't know how to say it, project manager.
Kind of our client, the project
Yeah,
manager.
the client. But you guys are managing this project. So So the managing division we needed a way to sort of separate out other divisions' projects, but we put it in here for your purpose. So you'll see that. Every project has a project type, and it may be design, it may say road construction, bikeway, whatever. Description, the owner, currently owner is synonymous with project manager, and currently for this project here, Isaac is the project manager.
So that's one of the projects that I don't know who the design PM is, that's why. Yeah.
And so we'll, that'll switch.
Yeah, there's a couple that I have.
Start date, one picks the start date for our projects, and the finish date gets calculated. So that's on one page. I can go look, and you guys can look at all this. This is why I want to show it to you. So then we have the key info, which is this one's the design key info, and starts to be information that's relevant to the project. You're not going to be updating it, but you're going to be viewing different, this is what we call metadata. So this is different attributes that are associated with each project. And you can, so right now, the SD hasn't been assigned. That's a pretty important one. And the project manager will be updating this. It's usually like a one-time update, and then it's information that gets used in reporting for slicing and dicing data. But you can look at this. The project manager is going to give a score of the project of RYG, red, yellow, green. Green, everything's basically going okay. Y, yellow, there's some problems. I need to alert people. And R, there are real problems. And when they do that, then they also provide a comment and date the comment, so you know, is this a 6-month-old comment or is this current? Because we want things to be current, otherwise people won't believe. So all this information will be there. You can look at it. And then down to the part that is more involved with you is the schedule. And we've set up a template, and this is the basic schedule, or the basic template. And so this is the starting point of just showing, here's where a project starts, the RFS is received, and probably the date, this was just the default. And so the project manager will go through this. All the lines that are in bold are summary tasks, and they represent the information below it in the subtasks, but the project managers are going to edit this and figure out, well, this isn't a 4-day task, this is going to be a 24-day task, this is going to be a 16-day. Go through and do all that. This is pretty basic, and hopefully they won't be doing much manipulation of the schedule. It's not going to be a pain for them to update this, but they do have to, through y'all's information, keep up with so people can know when to expect your deliveries. So when is your first submittal plans going to be done, on down through construction, whatever. And this is the information that you want to see on all the projects. So, sir?
A question, so if a date changes and there's a reason for that, can we add a comment somewhere?
We can talk about it. I don't want to get into it right now.
Okay.
And that's more of the process, what's going to make sense.
Okay.
Because dates will change, and you probably don't want to see every single sort of thing. It's more about what's important. But you also notice resource name, so design engineer. Well, the project manager is going to come over here, and they're going to say, let's see, I got to think. They're going to build the team, and I'm looking for me, in a sense, because there's a test user, DPW PWA test user, and I'm going to substitute, and this is what the PM would do. And now every everywhere it said design engineer, it's now going to say this test user. And when it's done, it's saving. It often gives little remarks here. Again, this is the PM. So now, let me. So now we can see that I am the one assigned to those tasks. Okay? Chloretta pump. I'm going to do something called publish. And then I'm going to go be the test user and show you this is what y'all. So think about your projects or projects that are going to have your name attached. Instead of test user, it's going to be your name. So I'm going to go ahead and close this.
So right now, we're going to only assign the people with licenses to tasks, and that's going to be all of you, our associates. And even though you've got CEAs, student workers working on it, we just want to have it just set to you right now. I don't think we're going to be able to capture all of that. So we're going to try it this way at first. So right now, everyone here has got a license and the ability to go in there and do this stuff.
All right, so I'm going to hope that in the background it's doing that, and I'm going to flip over here to be the test user. Trying to think. I think I got it. Okay. So now I'm going to sign in, hopefully. And you'll notice I have to put in that full thing. All right, now, I don't know if you recall, but when I signed in as myself in the other place, I saw a whole lot more stuff here because I'm an admin. So you're going to see what's appropriate, what you're entitled, you know, what you have a license to see, things like that. It makes it a little easier. So but I can come in and I can see all the projects. And there are different views here. And I'm going to come back because I want to hit the other before I run out of time. So there's all kinds of ways to look at things in the project center. But the key thing I'm going to do is go to tasks. Tasks show me what tasks I've been assigned to. And you'll notice this Chloretta pump station, I was just assigned to it by me over on the other side. And let me shorten this a little bit. I'm going to get rid of the navigation on the left, give myself a little more real estate. So these are all new. You'll notice it says new. And it's all the tasks. We saw it in the schedule. I'm assigned to. So the expectation is I'm going to update this. So I've been assigned that this is going to end 6/27. Then this goes down. Because remember we saw that 6/24, and we know that the dates weren't. We're going to pretend that those are the right dates and all. So I'm going to do really two things here. I'm going to come in and say, oh no, that's, you know, that's just not right. I can put in the finish date. And so I put in an amount, and it gives me a little message here, save as needed. And I'm also going to say, all right, I'm 25% done. Those are really the two things that I do. And
So that says finish, but then you're just putting in finishing the 25% or finishing the task completely?
So, so the finish, where are we in, we're in August, so let's change this.
Is that finish date, are you finished with 25% of it
No,
on the 17th?
no,
or-
I understand the question, but let me just pick something in the future is all. So I'm going to go back to this. So I come into this and I look at that and I say, well, wait a second, that's way in the past. That's not right. I think I can create that draft PDC 827, okay? So that's the first thing. That's when I expect to be done with the whole task, 827. So that's one thing. And I may not have started on it, I may have started on it. I was just trying to do two things at once. So I have a date there, and I think, okay, it's done then. I'm 15%. I'm making a guesstimate. There's no great criteria as far as I know. It's a guesstimate of how far. So I say 15% and that's the task I'm working on. Now, because this project hasn't really been massaged into the correct time frame, I also know that these things are all linked. So I know that PDC final is going to come after that 827 eventually. I'm not going to worry about it now. The bottom line is I'm working on that task, and that's the one that I focus. I say it's 15% done. 827 is the rough date. I click here and send status, and I can send all tasks that I have modified, like if I've done a bunch, or just the selected. For right now, I'm going to say just the selected. When I do that, because I've done something above, again, I'm going to go through it. I'm going to type a comment, which is, this task will take a lot longer than originally thought. Something like that. This comment is going to the project manager. And so it goes off. I've done what I needed to do, which is just, this is the part you all will be doing. Going into the tasks, let me put this back. Going into the tasks, which shows my task, and puts the updates the information. Now I'm going to do another one here because I'm not the project manager on this one. Isaac is. So makes it hard to show stuff. So on this one, I'm just going to say create the draft PDC. I'm 50% done. And this is still fine. That's the date, I still think. And the start date, we're not concerned about with you guys, because the start date really starts at the point everything that you need in order to do the task is done. There are dependencies between the tasks. If you all looked at Primavera before, that was the case as well. So whatever is the dependency, when this gets to the point of starting that task, the assumption is if you had all the time in the world, you'd start that day. But that's not the case. So we're not tracking effort through this. So when we said this is 9 days, this is not 9 days of effort. It is elapsed duration time. And that's all we're trying to get at right now. Way down the road when we're, graduated from crawl, walk, and we're running, we might look at effort, but we're not there now. So we're not concerned about the start date. We just want to know, are you done yet? And when do you think you'll be done? And when you're done, you mark it 100%. But I'm going to go ahead and do this and send the status update, because I'm going to flip back and be me. So All right.
Where do
So-
you see those messages? Oh.
Good point. So let me see if I am here. So now I'm back to me. And one of those status things, I was the project manager on the test thing. So let's see. I keep having trouble with this. So when, I'm going to show you an old one, but it goes through a little bit of processing. And when it processes, I get a message, and right now it looks like this. I think I can make it prettier, but we haven't concerned. I get a message as the PM that says, oh, I have, a team member did an update. I need to do something. So I get that message. And so I go on my side to the project, and I have an approvals link there. And when I go to that, I see the tasks that have been updated by, someone like y'all, and you saw me do this one, and now I can say, and they have to muck around. I can't quite see, so I'm not so worried about you seeing the details of what they do, but they get the task, and they can they can say, well, let me see what it looks like based on what changes you made, and they could say, well, wait a second, I don't agree. You can't lengthen it 6 months, so I can get this, and I can accept or I can reject. And I just want to show you first. So if I reject, it gives me a chance to give a comment. And now it's off. And so if I come back and be me, and let's see if I can.
So when you reject as the project manager, can you reset the date?
Well, at that point, I'm really throwing it back to the team member.
But
So-
if you know a hard date, can't you just set it yourself and say, I'm sorry, this is the date?
It's more about process. And so this is the part of, yes, the project manager could just go in and you don't want to set hard dates. You don't want to, they're just ways to do things.
Okay.
But in general, they can go in and manage their project. And that's part of it. It can be, oh, sorry, you didn't know that this is going to occur and you have to have it done by this date. Now let's look at everything you got going.
Right, you can negotiate.
That's what the project manager is there to help do. So here's that rejected. So I come over here, actually, this one I wanted to. So if I go to my Outlook, so if the project manager rejects the task, it does show up as an email. I'm you. So if the PM doesn't accept your task, you get an email that says rejected. So you go, okay, rejected. Here's a reject comment. I think this is an old one. You sort of have to wait for things to go through. But I can then go back to here. So it was didn't like that. Okay, I have another opportunity to do something. So whatever the circumstance, I'm really just doing the tool at this point. So I come here and I can't spell. So it's more the process, not so much the details of what I'm putting in, but this is the part. So now I'm awaiting approval. And And so I come back here, and I should have the task. I don't know what this is. And this time I'm gonna, I'm gonna accept. It's that back and forth, and hopefully it's, this isn't every single task that you're working on. You have to go back and forth, because it's still about you communicating with your project manager. It's not so much to avoid communication by the tool.
Aside from email, is there another area where this back and forth is sort of recorded? I know I see like status updates, but then once you answer it, it looks like it goes away. So I just wanted to see if there's another place where it's
Wait.
logged in.
Yes. All right, so let me flip back. So when it's accepted, you don't get an email. But you can come, so, did it do it? I forget which task it was, this one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no email, there's no comment bad. The other thing I can do, so for right now, if I wanted to see if there was a comment, you'll notice that these tasks have links. You can go into it and you can see it's a full breakdown of the task. So in here, you can see a lot of, same info you could see on the first page, but more details. So, and I can also edit from here. I can say, instead of doing it on the other. And again, don't change the start date. Just focus on the finish date. We're not tracking work, which is effort, so you don't have to be concerned with that. We're really just tracking duration. And so in here, you can see the various comments, and that's what you had asked.
Can anybody see that?
I'm not sure, in the sense of only the tasks that show up as your tasks show up here. So I'm not sure if Christopher getting to it might be a pain. There's other ways that one can check on that stuff, but in general,
If for whatever reason, I want to drill down to a specific project and see the communications back and forth, for whatever reason, can I do that?
yes, actually, I think
Okay.
I can show you.
Right, you don't-
Now that's what I understand. So,
That's, sorry, that's just an example of like negotiating like a change in a schedule?
yes,
Okay.
yes. And that's really, you're just using a tool to do what you should be doing,
Right.
in person.
But if the date stays the same, the finish date stays the same, and you just update the progress,
Yeah.
there's not really any
Right.
communication, right?
And that's why they don't send you an email when it's accepted. So you say it's 50%. Me as the project manager gets the email that says, I got something to go look at. Because you did an update. So I want that email, because I don't want to go check every time, but I could, It really becomes about process. And then I say, great, we're good. You don't get an email back, and you're good to go. Does that make sense?
It seems that for example, project is just to track the time it takes to do a task more than anything. Like the conversations that you would have within a specific project would be through Teams or something else. But this is just to give an explanation of why you are 50%, 60%, or so forth. More than anything, it's just tracking.
Yeah, so that we know.
Yeah.
And so there's more details here about all that you can see. So let's go back here.
Is there like a master log instead of clicking on each individual task if you want to see like the entire back
Well,
and forth?
I just got to check on the comment part. That generally isn't something people want to see, across the whole portfolio. I know there's another way to see it other than here, now that I thought about what you questioned, but the information about the task is really what people want to see. What was our baseline? So the PMs are supposed to be setting a baseline that says, we think it's going from here to here. And then 6 months down the road, we find out that it's moved from here to here. And this is when you're going to ask the question, what's going on? You know, we thought, and there will probably be answers. You know, the city delayed, da, 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 da. And so that's what people more usually want to see more of. What did we think? Where are we now? Why is it late? Who worked on it? When do we expect to be done? How do we manage our work? Why do we use the same 3 designers instead of the rest of you? Things like that. All right, so I just wanted, so it's on the recording, is when you first come into this to set it up, and you see my, what I see. You'll notice that you don't see the drop down until you click on task. And when I do that, I get a bunch of choices. And what I want you to do is come over here in the middle and select 1 DPW assignments. And that is because I've set up this grid of fields, things that I thought are relevant for you guys. So you do that first, and you shouldn't have any filter, and it should group by project. And you'll notice that it's grouping by project, but underneath a progress window or a planning window. So these things are in progress for the current period, and it shows me those things. This is the near future, so the next 4 periods. And that's a little configuration thing. We could set it for however many. So I want you to do that. So group by project, because it's easier to generally think about the tasks of a project altogether. Layout, underneath here. And these are things, if I could set them up for you, I would do it, but I can't. So it's just something, it's individual taste, but this is what I'd like you to do, is click on sheet at the bottom. And that just gives you this Excel. You can play and look around at all the others, but this is what I find useful.
Don't be afraid of exploring
Yes.
within here. You cannot affect anything. If you click a button, it's just going to go to the manager for approval. So you just try any views, any settings, any of that stuff. Don't worry about messing anything up. The access level that you all have does not allow you to delete projects or activities or reassign things. You have none of that stuff. So the layout, the first, I don't know, 5 hours or so of me using this, I found it to be pretty clunky. And then I figured out, you got the hang of it. So it's going to take a little bit of practice. So don't get discouraged when you click the back button. It doesn't go back to the screen you thought it would. It would take you back 6 steps back. Like, don't get discouraged. There's ways to do it. It's just, it takes a little bit of practice.
So true, yeah.
Next question. So if I have an assignment, not necessarily plans to specs, it's a different assignment, can I create a project and assign it here also, and maybe create some tasks associated with it?
Yeah, but again, separate from this.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
and we've talked about, what do you call it, like standard things you all do, collecting them as a task, another task in a project.
So Old Park came to me this morning, I think, and he said there's a St. Gabriel project that he wants to add multiple tasks on what's already set there, and it can be done.
So if I have, hey, I want somebody to do some research and then deliver a report 6 months from now, I can create a project here, attach an ID, and maybe 2 or 3 tasks,
Yeah.
and assign it.
Yep, because that way you're collecting all the work of the division.
Right.
Yep. Let me just go through. So the layout, do the sheet. Units, I would suggest duration in days. And that is the only one I think you have to do, but you can play again with these. The date is whatever way you want to see the date format. And then the last thing is over here, comment on submit. Click on that, toggle it on, so that when you do your submit, you can put in the comment. just 3 or 4 or 5 things, and then you're ready to go. And you just do it. And so basically, you're coming here to tasks, updating each task that you're on. In some weekly, it's easier to do it weekly, but just because people remember. But weekly or bi-weekly, you all will decide. That information will go to the PM. They'll do their bit, and if it's rejected, you'll get an email about it, or you'll probably get a phone call or something. And that's the part. But you also can go look around at everything. Like Christopher was saying, you can look at the whole project. You can look at the whole schedule. It's better to know the overall the project, what you're working on, you know, where your part fits in. So go look around. And just the other thing, you can look here, but if I come here to design, and I think, I'm trying to think of names I've seen on, so I can click on, this is sort of, I can click on whoever I want and go look at resource assignments. So I'm not updating things, but I can see the resource assignments of a variety of people. Just a quick way to look at stuff.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So do the design project managers, are they the ones that assign the tasks for our milestones?
Yeah.
So then if we have some tasks that we became aware of, then we talk to them and they would add it.
So we created, for our schedules, we made them very bare bones, just major milestones. Once you get in there and start looking around, you'll see how the project managers have decided to do their scheduling. And we know here that to do a first submittal plans, you gotta get a survey, you gotta start your right-of-way ID map, you've gotta start some GMED reports, you gotta get utility notices. I figured you all didn't want to make all those updates.
Yep.
Now, if you want to make all those updates, we can add those into the schedule for you. But so I left it up to, I made the schedules as simple as possible using these major milestones that we've got. I know, and you know, there's a lot more involved than just clicking a button saying you're 100% done with a first submittal. There's a lot more stuff behind there. But the amount of effort to gather that, I didn't think was worth your time. Now, but we can, again, this is a learning process. We're crawling here. If we want to modify this, we can absolutely do that, and it won't be, you know, I want to try it out first before we, I think it's going to be easier for us to add on than it does to pull back.
And so if you want, if you go look at TPP projects, you'll see how it's laid out with much more detail.
Yeah, their details are crazy.
So here's design phase where most of your work, and you can see all the things I heard you say, you know, they need to do the survey, they need to do this, because they're tracking all the stuff and they have to know all that. You, and we're working with them to, instead of assigning you as just a design engineer, a generic, we're now starting to put the names in so that you're assigned to tasks and you know what you're doing.
So you can query by project engineer, can you query by project also?
Mm-hmm. So let me go back to project. So in the project center, again, where's my drop down? I have to hit the word. And I can pick multiple views or of different views, play with this. But let me show you. So I tend to go with DPW's portfolio. I can group. So instead of seeing one line, I can say, let me group it by owner. Remember, owner is synonymous with project manager. So now I can come here and I've been lately looking at, how many does Isaac own?
No.
It was 200 before.
Yes. And that's how I knew things were moving. So, you know, I can do that. I can also, if I take away the grouping, no group, I can maybe filter. And I can say, let's see,
Project name,
yeah.
okay.
Now, what I'm doing, actually, I don't think it needs a capital, but, now, when I do a filter here, you'll notice I got a little green thing. On some of these things, if it's a drop down, it expects the whole thing to be correct. You'll get a red, and just, you gotta keep playing with it. So when I do that, I go, oh, okay, now I've limited to my projects. And this is what you may wanna do of limit to your boss, or, you know, you can play with it again. Now, in theory, whatever you do to configure this a little bit, with all the stuff, should hold. And so the next time you come back in, it will look this way. And the only reason I say should is if, as an admin, I go behind the scenes and I change the view a little bit, it'll kick out your configurations and you'll just have to do them again. Because like I just added a field earlier and so it made it. But in general, what you do today, it should look that way tomorrow. Yeah.
I have a question. Let's say I leave my desk and I know I need to close this at some point, maybe revisit it tomorrow. Is there a way to save where I'm at within Project Online so I don't have to go through all those levels again? Does that make sense?
Not really, but give me a quick example. Like,
Well,
what would be the levels?
Well, I think when you start off in the front page of the interface, I guess.
Yes.
And I'm digging through and I'm going through this filter, and I guess what I'm trying to say is, can I save my spot where I'm at?
No.
No.
They kick us out. They being ISD,
Okay.
has like a 15-minute, 30-minute limit. And if you're not active, it sort of kicks you out. So that's why I save some links. So if I wanted to save on a particular, like, I'm not sure what you would want, but like a particular project,
Sure, yeah.
I could save the link up there.
Oh, okay.
And that makes it the easiest. In general, I don't find I go back to exactly the same place anyway,
Mhm.
but you might. And really, your stuff may be just in tasks anyway. So once you log in, you go there and you're dealing with stuff. Yeah.
So from what I understand, you want us weekly or bi-weekly to, at the minimum, say what percentage status we're at. Do we have to justify that? I know when you change the date, we had to write a reason behind it. But if we're just not changing the date, we're just saying, okay, I've done 20% of this so far, are we still expected to give a reason of why we're at 20% so far?
Or if you're one day left and you're only at 20%, maybe.
This
you got a
is just
problem.
common sense. This is not a requirement. That I'm saying give a comment because that just helps.
Okay.
And the comment may be all is good or whatever. It's really about communication and communicating. It's not absolute.
And then I know you said we don't have to change the dates on like the start time and
Yes.
stuff. But, so let's say I request to change my end date for 60% to be something, and it gets approved, does that mean my 90% automatically gets
Yes.
pushed on its own?
So if you go back and look at any of these projects, this is not a great example, but they are all dynamic, meaning they have predecessors. Keep losing my mouse here. So predecessors mean that this task starts when task 2 ends. So there's a relationship. So if on that first task you say, oh, it's going out this far, the things that are related to it start later. That's why I don't want you to go all the way down the page and say, well, this one's 6 months, therefore this is going to be, you're really dealing with the things that are in the current time frame.
Okay. I have one more thing, sorry.
Sure.
And I know that you said we could look at the whole project
Yes.
entirely. Because I know with Primavera, we used to use it when we did like our PDCs to put every division's milestones on our schedule for the PDC. So I guess I'm trying to make sure we can still do the same thing with this.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
I don't understand the question, but
You
I'm gonna.
want to see other people's schedules on when GMED's going to be done with
Yes.
their materials test report,
Yes.
when construction's going to be done with the utility notices, all that stuff. That's all there.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, if something gets delayed and then you end up having 2 milestones around the same time and you don't have enough resources to complete it, what would be like the process of, like who would be alerted and how would that get resolved? Like how does that work?
And I'm gonna, in a way, throw that back. What would you do now?
I mean, I guess we would be aware of it, right? Because we manage our own work, and then we contact the project manager, and then they would just check to make sure it makes sense or something.
Well, what this is giving you is the information and the data.
Right.
Now you have to go do something about it, and the project manager needs to do something. And if they're on the ball, and that's really not the right term, but if they have the ability to see across these multiple projects as well and go, uh-oh, in 6 months I'm going to have this thing, I better shift some people, things like that. That's what I'm assuming your management sort of looks at. So hopefully it's not the day before and you go, oops. But, we all think we can handle more, and you just have to communicate. This is just one piece of it. Yeah,
Two questions. One is the title of this project, for instance?
Yes.
Where is it showing? Oh, it is on.
there's also a little thing that's somewhere here.
Onboarding ITV2 project online, is that the title of the project?
Yes,
Oh, I see.
that's what I said. It's not a real great example.
And then the second question is the durations. You didn't change any of those, so you're just leaving them alone based on whatever was set as a,
Yes.
so that's just how long will it take from this milestone to the next milestone? Duration-wise, not work-wise.
Right, not effort. So here is something that's 32 days. That doesn't mean, this is a plan for me, actually. Doesn't mean I'm working on it 100% for 32 days.
Can you change it? Should we change it?
This
You
is,
know that it's gonna be longer?
well, this is what we saw when you go to the tasks. You have the option. This is, what it's showing here is the day you're going to be expected to deliver whatever it is. So the final PDC is expected July 4th. So if that's not
4
realistic,
days doesn't really do anything then, like because.
don't get
July
caught
4th
up in the data of this plan, because it hasn't been massaged, hasn't been made realistic.
There's nothing, it's not like a formula that calculates that, it's not a formula that uses that. to
It is a
calculate.
formula. So,
So for instance, July 4th wouldn't make sense for it to have 4 days left if it's in the past. Just,
well, what it points out is somebody hasn't updated. Don't get caught up in some of this, because once you come on board, this is just an example. Isaac got it prepared, but it hasn't been turned over to, or you're looking at, I don't know, at mine or this one.
yes.
So this is what, between the project managers and you're going to make realistic expectations of dates and durations. Once that's in place, then you're off and you're good to go. And then if the dates are in the past, that means somebody hasn't updated. And it may be you guys, because you may be the first ones. If there's a finish date in the past, and it's not the last week, then what happened? How come you didn't update it? That sort of thing. It's gonna be clearer once you do it a little bit. And then you're gonna have lots of questions, and feel free to contact these two guys or me, depending.
So your biggest, I think, your biggest effort is going to be the updating. You're 25% done, 50% done. Does the finish date need to move? That's going to be your biggest effort here. The other thing that you're going to need to have effort with, and this is where you'll notify Isaac and I, is if you get a project that you're supposed to be working on, but you don't see any activities for it, that means the project's not in there. Isaac and I would then need to create the project for you. We want to capture, with a caveat, everything that you are working on. And the caveat is we're not going to capture these one-off guardrail projects for road maintenance. We're not going to capture railroad coordination review, metro review for Bill Swindle. We're not going to capture allowable queue for stormwater planning. So there's just these small tasks that are very like claims and litigation. We're not going to do a schedule for you researching a claim, right? We want to do schedules for actual projects. So if you are working on a project and you're working on, say, 60% plans and you don't see the project in there, let us know, because we need to add it then.
And as more divisions come on board, will be a more collected group of full plans.
So this is the time side. How do we handle the financial side?
Well, the finance connects via the project ID. And for the things that are DES dash blah, 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 I know to strip off the DES part so I can pull the expenditures out from ECAPs. My understanding, these DES da-da-da, they exist in PIW as well, and so the expenditures go through that connection.
So what I'm thinking about, let's say you negotiate $25,000 to create a PDC, and all of a sudden there's scope changes, we need another $5,000. How do you capture all those changes? And
Well, so expenditures are one thing, and that's
right.
the additional. Budget, so TPP and stormwater, they each have their own budget system.
Right.
And so we have that information, can pull it but not every project you work on works with a client that has a budget system. So we're talking about other ways of capturing that. We can, at this point, you can get it as a total, but not broken down. But I have a way that I think we can break down some of it.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that there's changes triggered by us or by the project manager, and then we agree to those changes financially. Just want to make sure there's a way to capture that. I mean, we can always do it by email, which is fine.
Well, we're not quite, so it's a really good question, and we got to figure out some solutions, of which the most major solution, of that is that DPW has a department-wide budget system.
Yeah, it does.
And
Yeah.
that's just so surprising.
Yeah.
And so I have some sort of temporary
Okay.
things to think about, or at least capture some of it, but that's really the solution.
Now, another question. So this is all in the Office 365 environment. Do you encourage everybody to stay with that environment for everything?
I'm not sure what you mean by
Well,
that.
because everything's there. You got Outlook, you got Teams, you got Project Online, you got everything all in that ecosystem.
Well, I mean, all the stuff is there. I still prefer Outlook, desktop Outlook.
okay.
When there's desktop stuff, it's just faster usually than browser stuff. So, but it does give me great capabilities for a bunch of things that
Yeah.
you don't even know about, so. All right, well, let's stop there now. I have a few of those sheets that gives the link, and on it is a link to that sheet. But I just thought, if it helps anybody, so you know where to go.
So Chris, everybody has access now?
Yes.
So you
Yes.
said that when?
I didn't hear.
Do we have access now?
Yes, everybody has been entered in. You should be able to go back and log in. You, I'm not so sure about what I gave you. I'm afraid.
Okay.
So we basically gave licensing to Project Online, to all of our associates and up, and we believe we gave access to Power BI to our
I don't remember.
senior CEs and up, I think, was what we did right now.
And actually, we're working on a deal, not we, but ISD is working on possibly where everybody could have Power BI for free.
Okay. So, we have all of your schedules in right now, all your projects in. The dates are not correct yet. Isaac and I are working with all your supervisors right now to get updated dates, and you should have seen that list. If you thought Isaac had 20 projects was a lot, he had what, 230?
250,
Yeah, and he's got 20. He's almost done. And we're going to turn it over to all the CEs to run, and then we would then consider this a snapshot of being up to date, which is probably our hardest task. And then after that, it's just maintenance. It's just when you get a new RFS that comes in, check to see if there's a project schedule in here for that. If there's not, let Isaac and I know, and we'll add it in. I think it's going to be a departmental learning process, because we are going to really, really strongly, back to Javane's question, strongly encourage your owners to create their own project ID numbers. Otherwise, we're going to create a DES number, so that way we can track your effort. And then eventually, they're going to want a project ID number for it. And meanwhile, we're calling it DES 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and they're going to call it FCC, whatever it might be. And now we got a problem. Now we got to decide, is the DES number the one, or is it going to be the FCC number? Because we did all this effort in this software already. So what are we going to do? And I don't know the answer to that yet. I think we'll tackle it one at a time until we figure out a process that might be a little easier to stomach.
Well, I know it's easy to change it here. It's you started it in PIW, and I don't know the implication of that change.
So
Okay.
we'll see what we can do.
You guys will be great guinea pigs, I'm sure. Or some other animal, I don't know. All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you.